Hey everybody, I've had several comments of people asking me how I made and operate the waste oil injector that I built for my waste oil boiler system. So today I'm going to show you a little video on how I made this unit that fits in the front of my boiler that injects waste motor oil into my boiler furnace, and this is the unit itself. Quite simple. It's quite dirty right now. I suppose I should have cleaned it first, but basically what this is, it's an injector from like a clean burn or equivalent type of waste oil boiler or waste oil furnace. It's a very simple design that I made on this. Basically the injector unit itself is just this part here, which is the injector itself. It just has some 3/8 inch pipe plug nipples on the end of it to extend the length of it, and same with on the top, just a piece of 1/4 inch pipe plug nipple that's long. That's the oil injector on, or the oil intake on top, sorry. It goes into the injector body itself and then comes through the tip, and then the tip itself is a 1mm injector nozzle. You can thread this unit out of there and put different size of injector nozzles into the body. And the body is the venturi part, so the air passing through from the compressor at 15 psi creates a suction, which then sucks the oil into the system, mixes it in the injector, and sprays it out as an atomized gas at the end. Very, very fine atomization. I used a 1mm nozzle. It's just like the first one that I bought because I wasn't sure what size to buy. They make these things anywhere from 1/2 millimeter to 5mm, and I thought, oh geez, 5mm, that's gonna be a huge amount of oil going in. So I thought I'd start somewhere small, because I figured if anything, if I have to go bigger, no problem, but trying to start with something big and then bringing it backwards I thought would be harder. So I took a guess and I bought a 1mm injector and found it to be absolutely perfect. So my first guess was right, just by the amount of fuel that I wanted to dump into this thing. I didn't want massive amounts of oil going into this thing, because then it will just create too much smoke or something like that, or not burn too rich basically. So with this 1mm unit, it actually burns very well and very clean, and I will show you this in a moment as I take it apart. Here we are. I have this injector unit, and the flame retention head on there is something that they use in those furnaces, and it basically it prevents a large draft from overcoming the tip. So you basically set this flame retention head at just slightly forward of the injector nozzle itself, therefore it helps create a better mixture, I presume. So it's just simply held on with one screw, just a clamp on device. This thing was cheap. I got this whole unit with the flame retention head, an injector, some other fittings and stuff that all came with it as a unit. Oh, it came with the electrodes for the electric igniter, which I'm not using. I have an electric igniter, but I don't use it. I just light it with a torch. It's simpler. I did set it up as an electric once, but I thought, for the amount of time and screwing around it took to do that, wasn't worth it. So basically there's the injector nozzle. As you can see, it's just simply a brass fitting that's being machined into a nozzle, as per se. These things are relatively inexpensive. They fire fuel through at a certain volume. They said depending on what size of injector that you buy, they have a different flow rate for oil. The air generally stays the same because you control that with your compressor as you go through. So that's the injector there, and I see my O-ring is finally going to crap. So that's the actual injector tip right there. Oil comes in around the sides of it, air through the center of it, and I said that just creates an atomization or venturi effect around the tip, drawing the oil in. And that's basically it. The injector itself is only, the whole length of this thing's about 2.5 to 3 inches. But when I added the extra pieces of pipe to it that I put through this plate. Now what this plate does is it allows me to slide the injector in and out, so I can change the flame front within the tube that this thing rests in. Pulling it back creates more of a draft inside the tube. Pushing it forward, so putting the nozzle more to the outside of the tube, creates less draft. So you can kind of fine tune where this thing is going to burn just by sliding it in and out in the burn chamber, or burn tube I should say. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this thing back together. I'm going to connect it up to some oil, and we're going to put it on the bench and just fire it straight into the air and see if it burns that way. I know it does, but how well it burns some days, it depends on the fuel itself, if it's too thick or thin. The fuel I'm running right now is fairly thin because I have a little bit of gasoline in it, so we'll be back in a minute. There we go. I've taken my waste oil injector nozzle system. I set it up on a little test bench here. Just basically put it in my drill press vise. You can see the injector there, the oil intake into a tiny little amount of oil, the air line from the compressor coming in, and you have to put some kind of a tube on there because that creates a draft. So like a wood stove, you have to have a natural draft in order for this thing to work, because I don't use a fan forced air system, which I did run before, but I found it to be really ineffective as compared to doing natural draft. So with this setup here, it's just a piece of 3.5 inch exhaust pipe, about a foot long, which I used to use for a radiant tube heater of the same make. I can show you that in another video, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to test fire this thing and show you how it burns just on this crude little stand here. Bear with me. So there we go. I've lit this thing. Now she's just running my little crude little test stand here. Woo! As you can see, the injector nozzle just shooting oil in there with a deflector tube. This thing just makes a nice flame. Now I don't have fuel adjustment on it, so it's just basically running wide open off that 1mm nozzle, which I find sometimes is a lot of fuel. It doesn't burn as good like this as it does inside the stove, mainly because it's in an open atmosphere, but this is just a very crude, simple setup that I have going here as well, just to show you how simple this oil injector system works. Basically, this is about $150 to build this thing. That includes the compressor, the injector nozzle, and the bits and pieces. The pipe and the flanges, just maybe scrap metal stuff that I had laying around. You can build it pretty much from anything. Square tubing is what I use on the stove. You get the idea. Yeah, this is it. This is how she fires, burning inside the stove, and that's what I use to heat my home. It's this simple little homemade injector system that works phenomenal. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel and like the videos. Thank you very much.